What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Future of Work with AI. I'm Ryan Kohler, and today we're diving into something wild. What if the secret to navigating AI transformation isn't more technology training, but improv classes? I know. Stay with me here. My guest today is Dave Collins, and this guy has spent 25 years doing improv and 20 years coaching people through change. And let me tell you, when he started connecting the dots between getting up on stage with zero script and helping organizations adopt AI, my mind was blown. Here's what hit me. Dave said, we get prioritized away from risk and experimentation as we get older. And that's exactly why most companies are failing at AI adoption. We're trying to teach ChatGPT like it's Excel when it's actually more like improv. Dave's working with mid-sized companies doing their first ever manager training programs, and he's watching this perfect storm where employees are using AI in secret, leaders don't know how to guide something they've never used, and everyone's stuck in this weird joining the show already in progress situation. But here's the thing, Dave's got frameworks that actually work. We're talking show and tell for AI adoption, treating mistakes as gifts, and why the best leaders need to go first and show their failures. This isn't just theory. This is practical stuff you can use tomorrow. Ready to discover why the future of work might require getting comfortable being uncomfortable? Let's dive in.
So it's basically, I come to change from like an improvisational point of view. So it's more from the background of how I've gotten people to get up on stage and think on their feet, and what are some of the emotions and skills and tools there that have been helpful in the world of like improvisation, that I then apply a lot of those tools along with change and change leadership and change management, apply those tools like in the workplace.
So let's jump into that. Just start with that. So how did you come to that idea? Because, clearly part of change is like being open to doing things on the fly, not being prepared.
Yeah.
By definition, change is like potentially unexpected, potentially not perfect, most likely a bit of a crap show that we're going to go through, right?
Yeah, well, and I think it's unexpected sometimes. Sometimes it is expected. Like for example, a lot of personal changes you see them coming a mile away, right? If
Right.
you're like going to have a kid, right? Or you're getting married or you're moving cities. And now obviously sometimes that doesn't happen with so much lead time. And I think same with when I've been doing improv for 25 years. And I've been coaching people for about 20. And people know they're getting up and going to an improv class, right? They know they're getting up on stage. They know they signed up, they paid the money, they're going to do it, and they still get these emotions, right? These reactions. And that's, I think, where the worlds of improvisation and change management research really overlap, where we kind of know what emotional reaction you're going to have, even if you don't, and we can
Right.
prepare for that.
Well, and I think from a leadership standpoint or management standpoint, even if we know change is coming, like in the perfect world, we would tell our employees how to react to that change
Yeah.
and they would react perfectly. And
Right.
yet they don't. And like I always like to say, I don't understand why, especially bigger companies, haven't figured out that they need a few extra like cells in their spreadsheet formulas for like psychology and
Yeah.
like unexpected consequences and how
Mhm.
I feel inside about this change because they tend to make this spreadsheet that's like, we're going to roll out this change. It's going to go X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be perfect. And you're like,
Yeah.
have you met humans? Like,
Right.
humans aren't
Have you
like
met
this.
Have you met humans? And also, I think there's the added, you're talking about spreadsheet cells. I think that's a perfect metaphor where there's the added dimension of time, where it's like, okay, yes, like you've lined it up. This is a good decision. This tool will make your teams more efficient. You've communicated it correctly, and also, have you given people time to adapt?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because it's not like doing it overnight isn't expected and it's not helpful. And also, usually, the teams deciding on the change, the hidden benefit they have is they've spent more time with it.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. And if you're, we think that, oh, we've sold them on this change as this positive outcome. I I honestly don't know that I've ever seen a change that was all positives.
Right.
There were negatives. And yes, the positives may outweigh the negatives, but like we still have to go through some of the stages of grief.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I
Exactly.
knew how this worked. Hey, like we are leaving behind these people, even if they went to a different area or different department, like again, the
Yeah.
psychology part
Yeah.
of like groups of people and societies of people and
Mhm.
cultures of people and like all these things, it's
Yeah.
super interesting to watch the unintended consequences, or again the time thing. Hey, you just didn't think it'd take that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You didn't think it would take that long, and also you've just been sitting with it for longer. So it
yeah.
feels more normal for you. And so when you're telling someone on your team, "Hey, this is the new software," that's minute one for them. And here's what to expect in minute one. It's the beginnings of grief, right? It's the
Right.
shock, it's the surprise. It's not going to be a fully positive, well reasoned reaction. It's hitting us in our lizard brain. And I think
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of executives get really upset over those reactions. And there's like, oh, they're not grateful. They're not part of the team. They're not flexible enough. And it's not a fair way to treat someone. It's not, it's because it's not, just, it's going to happen. So why be shocked by it?
Yeah, I think actually I hadn't actually thought of the time part. And it makes a ton of sense. I remember, I'm old enough that I watched TV when it was on a schedule, right?
Yeah,
And if something
same.
happened, right?
Yeah,
Something happened, like there was a big weather event or emergency or
yeah,
something, and they'd cut out your TV, and then you'd come back in, and it's like you're joining this program already in process.
right,
And it's like, oh,
right.
wait, this is a great analogy, you guys. You guys on the leadership team or in the decision team or whatever, you
Mhm.
started this program at the beginning when you
Right.
said, hey, what's the problem? Oh, there's these 5
Yep.
areas of issues. Hey, what are our
Yep.
options to solve it? Oh, we looked at all these different things. And like
Mhm.
you said, you sat in it, you
Mhm.
discussed it. This
Mhm.
problem feels old to you. And in
Yes.
fact, the solution feels like you've been working on it for a while. And then the rest of the team joins it already in progress.
Right.
And they're
Yep.
like, wait a second, what?
Well, and so I love this metaphor, right? The old school TV
Yeah.
metaphor. We call it now, vacation TV because our son only experiences that in hotel rooms,
Right.
right? There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
like flipping. So yeah, you're joining the show already in progress. And also, I think what ends up happening is that gets reflected in how the leadership or the change leadership communicates because a lot of the information that happened in the first half of the show doesn't get shared
Oh,
because, oh,
100%.
we didn't go with those other five options. Oh, we've already looked at all the competitor softwares. They're not the right choice. And so you're joining the show already in progress and going, well, did you think about this? Oh, did you think about that? And it could be solved as, yeah, don't worry. Like, if you want to read up on all that, here's 59 pages of all the work that's been done up to date that we've had to throw out. But a lot of times that gets withheld, it's not shared, and people get nervous because they wonder, how did this show start 15 minutes in? Where are we?
Why do you think that that's withheld? Because I 100%, again, going to the timing thing, I think the second part of this of like, you went through, hopefully you went through a decision-making process,
Right.
right? Hopefully you
Yeah.
didn't just jump into this like, oh, this is the first thing we saw and we went all in. So why is it, do you think leaders like don't think through like, hey, I need to tell you the backstory?
Yeah. So I think it depends on all the contexts, right?
Sure.
Because this is often, how a leadership team works amongst themselves and then how that gets reflected outward. So in every organization, that dynamic is different. I think to put a positive spin on it, I think there's a feeling that, well, it'd be really inefficient. I don't want to overburden people by sharing all this work that we've done. Like, I don't need them to
Mhm.
dive into the weeds on that. That's a distraction. In the
Right.
RACI diagram, they're on the informed level, but the things I want to inform them about are like, that's like feels like old news.
Right.
So the problem is with change, different people are going to need different pieces of the information to feel on board. And so
Right.
when you throw all that out, you might miss the one thing that for one person who's kind of farther along the adopter curve, like way in the late majority or laggard, like they may actually want to read all 100 pages to feel like everything's been done, but that may be one person out of 10,000 in your
Right.
organization. So there's an efficiency reason why it doesn't
Yeah.
happen. I think to put the most positive spin on it.
Right. I think there's also some of them are like, hey, we made the decision. There's no reason in talking about all the other options because we're not going to go back and rehash it. We made the decision. So what's the point?
Right. And that's, I think, the middle, like not as sunny situation where we're not going backwards, so do as I say.
Right.
Which again is true. Like you may not be going backwards, and it can still be helpful to show your work.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I
So
think your
that's yeah,
darkest one is probably like, it's your job to do what I say.
right.
Like, it's none of your business how we came to this decision. And that can be a mix of like command control. Just do your job. We don't
Yeah.
have to explain why we made these decisions. Or which might actually be worse is just ego of like, well, my team trusts me, so they don't
Right.
need to know it. And one of those sounds
Yeah.
sunny and one
Yeah.
sounds dark. But
Right.
in a lot of organizations, like it'd be better if people were dark and be like, hey, I made the
Right.
decision, we're doing the decision, just get in line. Because
Right.
the opposite of like assumption of trust,
Hmm.
when it's not
Hmm.
there,
Yeah.
is like a surprise to everybody. Like
Yep.
the owner, the boss is like surprised they're not trusted, and the employees are like
Hmm.
surprised that they're like don't realize they're adults.
Well, and I think that gets to one of my personal pet peeves when it comes to like organizational values is when I see an organization, a fully private, like professional company talk about, hey, here we're all family.
Mm-hmm.
And it always drives me nuts because you're not, it's not family. This is work,
Right.
right? There's a big difference. You can take care of each other, you can respect each other, you can like each other, you can support each other, but there's a lot of differences between your family and your work. And then in a workplace, you can get fired, you can get laid off, you can get disciplined. There's a lot of things that don't happen in a family environment. So when you have that and you say, "Oh, we're all family here," but then there's some like negative pushback and people
Right.
are have strong negative reactions, it can feel like this personal affront to a leader, and it's go, no, this is business, right? They're
Yeah.
expressing professional negative reactions that they'll get over if you treat them professionally.
Yeah, and
This
I think I've actually one of my buddies, Matt Burlack, did something on this recently, and it's like family versus team. It is
right,
a team, kind of like
right,
basketball teams. Yeah, when we're together, we play like a team, but then we trade LeBron and we get
right,
over it. Like
right,
you wouldn't
right,
trade your brother. Like we
right,
trade him for a
exactly,
different brother. The new brother is
right,
now playing in this role. Like I think
right,
I honestly it's sad, but like I think that a lot of, including me, maybe at my past company, have done a huge disservice by using that we're a family.
right,
Because it does set this weird tone of like you don't
yep,
fire mom, you don't
right,
trade your brother, you don't swap these, you don't just
yeah,
tell them what to do, they're included in
right,
decisions. and
right.
and so yeah.
And it sets a really odd psychological boundary if we're talking about work-life balance, where if you're talking that way and your employees are expecting to get the kinds of support they get from family at work, you really set people up for a bad situation when work just takes a turn because work will often be really annoying, or you'll have a bad boss, or you'll get put on a project. And if you don't build that system of support outside of work through family, actual friends, actual partners, the lines get really blurry
Oh yeah.
and it's not healthy.
Right. So now I'm assuming that you're deep in the thick of like change transformation when it comes to generative AI, right? Because
Yes.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure anybody, either me from the AI side and you from the change side, we're kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
most I always like to tell my AI clients, I'm like, look, yes, there is technical stuff here, and AI is a
Yeah.
technology, and there's a lot of technology and different parts and different tools and all this stuff. But like change and adoption has to do with the psychology of this change. And
Yes.
because they hired me as the AI guy, they end up getting a lot of psychology with me because I'm like, guys, so I have some rules. Like
Yeah.
rule number one, like I only work with companies growing revenue,
Mm.
because trying to tell a team to embrace technology when the next breath is, so you're going to fire half of us,
Right.
is not a
Yep.
fun engagement. Like it just
Hmm.
doesn't work, right? So I'm
Hmm.
guessing you're in the deep of this thing
Yeah.
that is, hey, our team should just use this technology like it's Microsoft Excel or QuickBooks,
Yeah.
and it's
And
not.
It's not, and I think, something I'm in the works of developing is like truly combining my workshop on leading through the emotions of change with a workshop on, how to use generative AI in your day-to-day work. Because I think what ends up happening when I explore and expand on some of these tools with my normal manager content, like, hey, the tool I just taught you on how to present feedback in a fair and compelling way, you can use that as a prompt in ChatGPT to help you for your next one-on-one. So just take this slide. I've written the prompt out for you. Go ahead and use it as your coach, right? These are some sort of very normal, simple ways, my existing content can play well. But I think on a bigger scale, sometimes when I'm teaching people some of these tools, what I see flash across their eyes is a feeling of grief, a feeling of realizing that what they have been doing in their role or an element of their role, its days are numbered. And
Yeah.
that's a really hard mindset to be in, to also be in a learning and creative mindset, to
Oh,
have both
100%.
sides.
Yeah, I mean the amount of like you have to be a hyper abundant person, right?
Yep.
To be able to destroy what you're good at
Right.
in exchange for something that is new that you're not good at. And
Right.
to like wake up every day and do that as a job where you're
Yep.
like, hey, what am I going to do today? I'm going to destroy something I'm great at,
Yeah.
bring it down to this small amount. And
Yep.
it's different. I think, again, like going back to the generative AI, like kind of implementation, there's so much that nobody's actually talking about. Like, I mean, I can list a bunch. Number one, like that your boss doesn't actually know how to do it. Like that
Mm-hmm.
somebody's up there
Yeah.
like staking the flag in the ground of, hey, we're going to go and charge this hill. By the way, I don't use it at all. I
Right.
don't know what it does. Joe, the IT guy that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know anything about your job that's not in IT, is here to tell us how it's going to work. But
Right.
all of a sudden, there's this huge like distrust in leadership because you're like, hey,
Mhm.
boss, like you're telling me to use something you don't know how to use.
Right.
Like, so
Right.
that one's huge. And then
Mhm.
like not talking about the obvious, like, hey, so you said this is going to save a bunch of time, right? So A, like, what are we going to do with the free time next? Am I going to get
Exactly.
fired?
Yeah.
Or B, wait, so you tell me you want me to double my productivity,
Right.
but you're not going to pay me anymore. So
Right.
I'm still going to work 40 hours. You're going to add more
Yep.
stuff onto me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do more. I'm going to
Hmm.
accomplish more, but I'm going to get paid the same.
Right.
Tell me again, like, unless I'm in sales, why would I be
Right.
working so hard to
Yep.
work even harder in the future
Yep.
unless you're going to tell me that it's for fear,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
again goes back to like, you want to know the quickest way to take an abundant culture and turn it into a
Yep.
scarcity culture?
Yep.
Introduce fear.
Well, and I think fear is such a like it's a good jumping off point, because I've been talking with a number of my clients who work in learning development at, medium-sized companies, and they're doing surveys right now about like what's the current usage, because it's kind of hidden, right? We're not A lot of organizations don't even know who is using it for what and when. And
100%.
that's like level one of understanding, like how are we can even have a strategy if we don't have this data. And there's a lot of people in a lot of organizations who are using it a lot, but very quietly. And I think from a change perspective, that rings alarm bells for me, because those are early adopters.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are typically the people you want to put front and center, say, hey, look at me, check out this cool thing I just learned, come to my lunch and learn. But
Mhm.
those people are doing this quietly, which is a weird place for that style of person to be in. It's not a good,
Oh, yeah.
generally
We
place.
have the perfect storm. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think. I mean, clearly I've been in the business world for like almost 2.5 decades now, and I can't think other than the internet. But even like email and that was still like, well, I sent the email to you and you saw how there wasn't like some underlying code
Right.
was going on, right?
Right.
Like you saw evidence of what I did. I
Yeah.
didn't write you a letter. But yeah, you're exact. I see the same thing where you're like, okay, either it's because they didn't dare bring it up because IT might shut it down.
Right.
So in a lot of orgs, their policy was don't. And
Hmm.
the next org was like, don't talk about it. Don't ask, don't tell, use
Yeah.
it for whatever you
Right.
want. And then you have the like, okay, am I cheating? So then there's all this outside influence from like
Mhm.
hype and education of like, this is cheating and this is evil and this is wrong. So they're like,
Right.
okay, well, my mom, who's a teacher, said this is evil. Or heaven forbid, you're fresh out of
Right.
college. You're like, for
Right.
4 years, they told me this was evil.
Right.
Now I'm using it at work, so it seems like I'm cheating. And then yeah, you don't want to let anybody know.
Yeah.
And then the way that the generative AI is built, it was
Hmm.
built first as a personal use. All your information is stored inside your personal accounts. Even if you have a team ChatGPT account, you can't see what your team's doing.
Right. Right. Right.
And so yeah, it is the perfect storm for like
It,
a mess, chaotic mess.
and I think it's also, I mean, just like any storm, right? The name of my business, I named it after a story about a storm, right? So these storms have this opportunity to show who's flexible, right? And who can bend and yield to the storm. And we're in it now, and we're not through it, right? It's still the
Oh
winners
yeah.
and losers and who's thriving, who's not. It's still kind of yet to be seen. But I am also so fascinated because from a learning and development perspective, people are treating this often like a normal learning and development theme, let's
Mhm.
say, right? Like a trend, like, oh, well, everyone
Right.
wants to talk about, um, leading through change for the next couple of years. Okay, now the new trend is something else. Okay, now it's feedback. It's I'm totally blanking on her name. It's
Right.
direct and clear feedback. It's like it's who's the person, and it's not that. It's like it's something that doesn't lend itself well to traditional learning and development frameworks where sign up for the class, take the class, use it in your work because it's a moving target. Um,
Yeah. And
hard.
oh, 100%. It is an evolving target.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, oh, 100%. And it doesn't fit well with like, oh, so we got our sales team together and the
Right.
salespeople are using it, but they're
Right.
competitive with each other. And
Right.
like, like from what I've seen, cross department and even cross company sharing
Mhm.
is actually crazy
Yeah.
effective.
Yep.
Because we haven't seen a blank canvas like that. Like the sales team has
Mhm.
their CRM and the support team has their ticket system, and your sales team and your
Yeah.
support team aren't sharing best practices across those two systems because they're utterly different. And heaven forbid the accountant's using
Yep.
QuickBooks. And you're
Right.
like, none of this is interrelated. We've
Yep.
taught everybody to stay in their lanes. And
Yes.
all of a sudden we have
Yeah.
generative AI where it's like, oh man, we might learn something from the accountant on how they're using this to analyze data. And that's just so foreign to the
It's
siloed
foreign.
structure.
It's foreign to how like people are ultimately when it comes down to a change, right? It's what's in it for me.
Mhm.
It's the two questions. Why are we doing this? What are we fixing that's broken, right? The
Right.
why behind a change. And then what's in it for me? And I always coach my clients who are taking my training or talking about change that you have to get selfish with the what's in it for me's for people to buy it. How does this put more money in my pocket? How does it save me more time? Has it let me go get home to my family and kids sooner? How do I do less of the annoying things that I'm banging my head against the wall? Right? Not is this good for the company? Right? The office
So how
space
are how
banner.
are you seeing people present that when it comes to generative AI right now?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of different things. So
It's a mess.
I think it's not consistent where the muscle memory of implementing a new CRM, there's always consistent like what's in it for me is to get people to do it,
Mhm.
time, money. For generative I think the what's in it for me, it's very company to company. So, for
Right.
example, a lot of it is saving time on it comes back to saving time on really minutia kind of tasks that have been taking up someone's time forever. Survey data, and we are talking about surveys
Right.
earlier, data analysis, rewriting text for languages, just kind of like level one, really helpful stuff that ChatGPT does. The problem is almost immediately you start to see the grief of that. Either this is something that took me 12 hours a week. What's going to happen with that now? Or, to take a more optimistic view, it's like, oh my gosh, I've spent the last decade doing this 12 hours a week. What, where has my time gone? right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that when you learn the right way to do something, you hate yourself for being so dumb and you're like, "No, no, okay,
Right.
this." And I think going
Yeah.
back to like the decision making process, there's probably some of that of going, and again, it's really hard for a leader who actually isn't ahead 2 or 3 chapters of their
Yeah.
team. So, like for me, my starting point is always like, hey, you want to lead through this? Hey, dear CEO, COO, visionary, integrator, I don't care who you are. If this is a top down change, not a bottom up. We don't start with our customers with a
Yeah.
chatbot. We start with our
Right.
C-level
Yep.
executives. So it's like, hey, here's a prompt. Go home this weekend, chat back and forth with, I don't care who,
Yep.
ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, drop this long prompt and have this back and forth conversation where you
Mhm.
talk about what the future of your business is going to look
Yep.
like. And
Yeah.
they come back and they're like, oh, snap, I get it. You're like, no,
Yeah.
you get 1%.
One thing.
This one thing, it's a mirror. I could give you 4 other
Yeah.
prompts, right?
Yeah.
But that top
Yeah.
down that goes, oh, I get this. And then, like, okay, let's now start with like where we believe that we're going to be led astray. So for me,
Yeah.
where I believe we're led astray is the AI companies are indexing, and you have two, we could go with 2 buckets of them. Bucket number one are the language model guys, and they're indexing on the Turing test, which is, can I trick a human to use a computer to think they're talking to a human? That is human v computer, and that sets a really bad stage. And so
Mhm.
all their content coming out is this is better than you. And
Yeah.
that is just detrimental
Right.
at its core.
Right.
And then you have the VC funded guys, the guys building
Mhm.
on top of that, and they are attacking every problem that sounds sexy
Yeah.
to VCs, which tends to be
Mhm.
the things that we're good at. Oh, you
Mm.
won't need any SDRs anymore. Sales
Right.
management is dead.
Right.
Accountants
Right.
are gone. We won't have
Right.
recruiters. They're literally saying out loud
Yep.
in their target audience of buyers and users what they
Yep.
should have just been saying behind the scenes to the VCs. We
Mhm.
believe this will,
Mhm.
guess what? We've been saying we were going to replace all the recruiters for like 2 decades.
Right.
We just didn't say it out loud to the recruiters as part of our sales pitch. So, what I always like to do is you get the team together and you're like, all right, step number one, let's start with the stuff that we hate. What do you
Mhm.
hate doing?
Mhm.
What do you
Yep.
procrastinate? What do you put off? What do you hate doing? Blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. Like it isn't that we're going to save you time doing it. We're saving you drudgery.
Right.
We're going to
Right. Right.
move that time something you like doing. Therefore, it's okay that we're replacing this work with stuff you like to do. And so I
Mhm.
instantly have, as a team and as each individual, here's the crap I hate. Here's
Yep.
stuff I like. And my what's in it for me is I'm going to do more stuff I like. I love
Yep.
talking to people on the phone.
Yeah.
And what I hate is doing typing up the follow up after. Cool. We're going to
Exactly.
attack the follow up after, not the phone. And like, and so that then becomes like, oh, cool, I got my list. I think
Yeah.
that the next part is like teaching them to build their own stuff. Going, wait a second, look, normally we would sit around and we would evaluate tools and somebody else built them, they're forcing it on us. And that's how it's
Yeah.
all, whether it's a CRM or, marketing tools or whatever the case may be, PowerPoint, Excel. You're like,
Yeah.
this is the one moment in time where everybody can create their own tools.
Yeah.
So let's
Yep.
teach you. We're not going to roll out some fancy thing.
Mhm.
We're going to roll out Claude or ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and we're all going to learn
Mhm.
how to create our own tools. And
Yep.
then those tools, we might create tools for other people to use. And we're
Mhm.
part of this creative process. And
Mhm.
sure, it's not integrated and automated, and it's not
Yeah.
sexy, cool AI agent,
Yeah.
which honestly, there's not a lot of good ROI on anyway right now.
So that was another point I was going to bring up is it's like I think it's very easy for people to get lost in the marketing, right?
Oh,
Completely lost in the marketing, right? Like Salesforce launches an AI agent Super Bowl campaign, like oh my gosh, the Monday after, what are we doing on agents, right?
uh huh.
And it's like, well, what about this cool project in Claude where I uploaded all my content and it now coaches me through 80% of my job? That's not an agent, but that's something I built that is super helpful for me, right? But
100%.
no one gets the big, like, rah, rah, rah parade for signing the $1 million contract for the company to build out agents for X part of our org, right? That's not the sexy win. It's just empowering the individual
Yeah,
to
and
do it.
that, yeah, 100%. Nobody makes money off it. Claude and OpenAI, you don't see Claude and ChatGPT running Super Bowl ads. They're
No.
like, now we're plugging along. We've made these
Yeah.
interfaces people can use. that we're mining for how they use it and to train our
Yeah.
model. But our real revenue model is Salesforce is paying us for usage of OpenAI, or
Right.
HubSpot is paying us for usage of Claude. And
Yeah.
that's their real kind of like go-to-market strategy is we're not going to hire our own
Yeah.
go-to-market team, blah, 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 blah. But you're 100% right. The actual guaranteed ROI, like dollar for dollar, greatest return on investment, greatest ROI is, hey, your accountant figured out how to use Claude to
Right.
write up emails to your management team that
Right.
explain in their terminology what this stupid financial statement means.
Yep. And that's okay. So that's where I'm finding the most interesting uses from learning is its translation. And I'm not talking like English to Japanese, which I have used and it's
Right.
great, right? I'm talking like translating from jargon A to jargon B. And it used to
100%.
be that was like in some ways the actual job within a job in a corporate world is like, can you working cross functionally, can you actually get into the IT team, the marketing team, the DevOps team, and speak their language to get what, meet in the middle and get what you want? I have been loving the ability to take conversations about someone telling me about their organization and then merge it with language from learning and development and share it back to them using their own terminology,
Oh,
their own company values, their own pain points. And it's so much easier to understand, right?
yeah. And the
That way.
reason why, no, that is me and you, same, 100% use case. And the reason why it's not sexy is because that is not measured with efficiency
Right.
because you couldn't do it before. Like you would have been outrageous to say, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of writing an ebook about XYZ, I'm going to write an ebook for every sales call.
Right. Right.
You're like, send them all the ebook. So since we weren't
Right.
trying it, I can't sell you on how this is
Right.
saving time. But the measurement would be effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if I took our ebook on the 5 steps to implement AI in your organization and
Yep.
wrote a brand new variation for every sales call.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I just turned one ebook into 20 ebooks that that quote you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Dave, on our call
Yeah.
today, you said X, Y, and Z, and
Right.
here is these things in actual your terminology. Because you're exactly right. Imagine teaching, I don't know, like how the stock market works to 10 kids, but
Mm-hmm.
each kid gets, oh, this is based off gaming, and this is based off
Right.
basketball, and this is
Yep.
based off Barbie, and this is
Yep.
based like the
Yep.
knowledge transfer of taking something
Mm-hmm.
you want to teach and connecting it to where they're at and building the bridge is
Yep.
crazy powerful,
Right.
but not sexy to
No.
anybody. So nobody demos it and explains it. But yeah, if you see it and you go, oh man, like I can see it because I pull back the curtain on a sales call and go, hey, watch, I'm
Right.
going to take your order call so far. I'm going to dump
Mhm.
it in here. Watch this thing write the
Yeah.
perfect proposal on the fly to you. And they
Yeah.
go, oh crap. Yeah.
Well, and then so that takes it a step further where, even for me as a training consultant, right? So much of my work was, okay, I got to get these proposals out, I got to get these pitches, I got to get this work. And then it's, oh, let me get an assistant. I can train them, they can figure it out. And then it's, oh, wait, this isn't what it is they're paying me to do. They're not paying me to create proposals for them,
Right.
right? So what is it? And this is a hard question. What is it really that people are hiring me to do? Or if I was employed at a company, what is the real reason I'm here? And that
100%.
is a really hard question to ask. It's scary, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it feels like the floor can fall out from you because it gets at the core of like, well, what is it that I really do here?
Right.
Back to Office Space, right? The Bobs. Like, what is it that you do here? If the list is a bunch of things that like, okay, but you don't really need to do all that right now, the fear sets in. And
Yeah.
and I think there's a flip side where the creative light needs to go on. And I think there's a real opportunity there for HR, for learning and development, for IT to figure out how we turn the creativity light bulb on instead of the fear one.
Yeah, and the cool thing is also like, so if you're listening to this podcast right now or this video, if you press pause right now, right after I say this, open up ChatGPT and literally say, "Hey ChatGPT, I am this job title And,
Mm,
here's my LinkedIn profile if you want to drop it in there. Here's all the stuff I do every day. And here's who I do it for. Now, tell me, what are the results that they actually are paying me to do?
yeah.
Like, what am
Yeah.
I supposed to accomplish that provides value to the customer, the organization, whatever? Like, teach me. Tell me
Yeah.
what the big vision is here. Because it
Mhm.
feels like I'm clocking in to do all these tasks. And
Right.
if that's what I'm doing and those tasks disappear, then I wonder why I'm clocking in. And what I should do is figure out what's the output, or better yet, what's the result? Because you
Yep.
have like inputs, you have outputs, you have results. What's the actual result I'm here to accomplish? And
Mhm.
then I can start asking it like, okay, cool. So, like, if some of these tasks are going to become more efficient, then what should I do next to drive more of this result?
Yep.
What is those? Where will I spend my time? What could I learn? What could I
Yep.
improve? If you do that on your own,
Mhm.
it's significantly less scary because you're choosing instead of
Yeah.
feeling forced.
Yep. And I'll take that a step further. I love that idea. Take it a step further and then build that into a project or a tool that you can then use as your own personal executive coach.
Oh, yeah.
So when you have your own customized ChatGPT coach or your Claude coach, whatever it is you're doing, it can help give you that feedback. And I have found that using it as a coach, as a sounding board, it works really well because
Oh,
you've
yeah. It's
trained it
awesome.
on what you want.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Like, you
Yeah.
get to that and you're like, but don't stop there. And that's really
Right.
like, I think some of the biggest challenges we have with it, which is not surprising, is that we're treating it like a search engine where
Right.
it's very transactional. I had a question, I asked it, it gave me the answer, I'm done. Right? Very much this
Yeah.
search engine. If you instead think about it like it's a relationship, meaning
Mhm.
that first request of like, hey, I'm this, I want you to be my expert mentor, a
Right.
brainstorming tool, like all around, like superhero sidekick at work.
Mhm.
And here's where I am today. Let's brainstorm where this is going to change to. A lot of people will stop there and not go, okay, cool. Now I want you to make me a 90-day roadmap.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me all the stuff I need to learn. Cool. Now I want you to teach it to me. What
Right.
should we do today?
Today. Yes.
You teach me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every day, like in that project becomes really easy. You take that thread and throw it in a
Mhm.
project and give it the instructions of, I'm going
Mhm.
to log in and say, what should I do today?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me what I should do. What
Yeah.
should we do next and
Yeah.
guide me through it? It's
Yep.
as easy as that to build that mentor,
Yeah. Yep.
but not if you stopped at what will my future of work look like? And it's like, oh, all this stuff's going to change. And you're like, okay, that's scary.
Well, and I think this comes back to why fundamentally believe in the skills of improvisation as a core tool for working in 2025. And I believe this since I started the business. That's why I started the business, right? To merge the world of improvisation and the world of change facilitation and teach people stuff. I think this skill is going to continue to be really important. And when I talk about improvisation, I'm talking about three things. I'm talking about the ability to recover from mistakes, which is the ultimate tool of an improviser. Even Tina Fey and Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert who get up on stage, when they do improv and they did improv in their 20s, so much of what you're doing up there is making a mistake, treating it as valuable and moving forward and
Right.
not beating yourself up over it. Treating mistakes as gifts is what we
Mhm.
call. And I think there's a lot of times where when we're unstable, we're trying to learn something new, beginners make tons of mistakes. We knew that as kids, right? Kids make
Right.
tons of mistakes in school, when they're playing sports with their friends, but kids don't care. They just
Hmm.
move on. But we've lost that ability. And I think people can run into a roadblock with this massive idea, get frustrated, not do it right. Maybe they miss a hallucination and they send it to a client and they go, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing, and go, never again.
Right.
Well, keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
You,
Right.
you got to do the next thing. Um, and then the other thing is yes anding. It's the idea of take what's in front of you and find a way to build off of it. And I think when you treat AI tools like a yes anding partner, like an improv partner, you have that mindset of it's not a search engine. it's a conversation. They're going to say something surprising. I'm going to ask for more detail. They're going to explain something more. I'm going to say, hey, tell me more about that. Or actually, not that, but this, more of this. And then you bounce like an improv scene.
Mhm.
And that's where you start to, I've had some really profound, interesting conversations when generative AI is acting like that coach and we're going back and forth and it's making me think differently. And that's making me prompt differently.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, and even if you add on to that, like if you set that out to begin with, hey, I'm going to ask you a question, but just so you know, I want you to question my line of thinking.
Yeah.
I want you to like a simple, easy prompt that you can put
Mm-hmm.
inside of anything. You just start off with like, hey, I'm about ready to ask you a question or for help or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But number one, like I want you to
Right.
question my line of thinking. I want you to
Yeah.
give me other ways to think about this. And option number two, I want you to give me the next three logical things where we could go. And if that's all you did in
Mm-hmm.
every single prompt, it would keep you going along that. I think
Yeah.
if I go back to your number one thing about like being open to mistakes, there's one of the easiest ways I've found this is if you if you think that ChatGPT is Excel,
Mm.
then when you go home at night with your kids, you're like, I don't use Excel. I'm with my kids. And if you go to watch a sporting event, you're like, I don't use Excel. I'm watching a sporting event or I'm watching TV. And so, a lot of our work tools are just that. They're tools to use at work. We don't take them home. And so
Mm.
if you want to get better at learning how to use it at work, the
Yeah.
very first thing is to recognize that there are core, say, skills that you need to
Yeah.
develop in how you integrate or how you like collaborate with it that can be learned outside of work. And in fact, it will
Mhm.
lower the mistakes. So if you want to go home tonight and you go, hey, cool, I'm going to fire open ChatGPT. I'm going to get it to write a story for my kids. And we're
Yeah.
going to go back and forth and collaborate on this story.
Mhm.
Or I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to do research about the basketball game I'm watching. And
Right.
I'm going to see if I can get it to predict. I'm going to feed it information about the game I'm watching and who's
Mm.
playing who and what's going on. And
Mhm.
I'm going to get it to predict outcomes and what comes next
Yeah.
because predictability and
Yep.
getting it to weave a story and doing research, these are
Mhm.
all things like I want to get it to write like my kid or like I would
Mm.
talk to my kid. Or for me, like I have a
Yeah.
project that has a whole bunch of like literally like 20 hours of my therapy sessions
Mhm.
and a little interview that somebody did with my mom before she passed away. And so I can get that project to actually talk to me like my mom about
Yeah.
things that have gone on in my past and what's going on today. And it's like super compelling and super
Yeah.
engaging. But now I can use that with marketing and my marketing skills as far as like pushing emotion out of AI are next level, but they
Yeah.
didn't come because I practiced at work and made mistakes. They came because I
Right.
practiced not at work.
Right.
And
Right.
that, like, there are very few tools, again, except for maybe the internet with research that had
Yeah.
this cross between work and school and church and like
Yeah.
life and human
Yeah.
relationships and all these things. You want to
Mhm.
get great as a leader at using
Mhm.
ChatGPT to help you with maybe mentoring an employee. Use
Yeah.
it with your relationship with your wife or
Yeah.
your spouse or your kids because it's the same skill,
Yeah.
but maybe a
Eh,
different dynamic.
well, and this kind of gets back to this point we keep circling of like, if you're using these tools in all these other aspects of your life, right? Remembering that the whole point is to give you more space to figure out who you are, right?
Mhm.
And what you're about, right? Because this is not a search engine. You're not asking for 59 activities to do with my 7-year-old.
Yeah.
You're having a conversation about what is it that you want to build as an experience for your kid? What is it you want your relationship to be? It's not going to give you the answers that need to come, the desires that come from in here. But once you figure that out, the outputs can become like limitless. And I think that's where there's this real spooky jumping off point where you are still the prompter. It's not going to solve your problem if you don't know what you're about or what you want.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think there's so much fear that it's going to take over, that it's going to replace us, that all these fear pieces. And I agree. Like I stated a little bit different than you, but like ChatGPT is just this mirror.
Yeah.
So if I believe it's a search engine, it mirrors back to me
Right.
and it
Right.
amplifies in that mirror, meaning if I'm not good at it, it's not good at it. And so if you wake up in the morning, you're like, well, ChatGPT is not that great,
my number one question will always be like, well, what do you use it for? And they'll be like, well, I use it to search. I'm like, so you're saying
Yeah.
it's not very good at search? Why?
Yeah.
Well, it does X, Y, and Z, and I don't like it. I'm like, cool. So what have you done to get
Yeah.
better at
Yeah.
getting it to do X, Y, and Z? Well,
Yeah.
nothing. And you're like, so you're looking in the mirror that it's only a search engine, and you're saying that it should do it automatically without you actually putting any work into it.
Right.
Okay, I
Right.
get it. We have a disconnect. This is
Yeah.
the way you're viewing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that really kind of like going back, it will your generative AI usage and the way it responds probably says more about you than it. Nobody wants to hear this, but like if you're afraid of it,
Yeah.
then you don't use it. That says something about you,
Well,
not it.
it does. And I think to get back to, we're talking about change earlier, and we're talking about
Right.
learning, right, in a corporate
Right.
context. It tells you about your change persona, right? Your reaction when faced with a change. It's giving very clear data to everyone
Oh
around
yeah.
you where you're at on that big curve. And I think what's really hard is we're not teaching people at work how to combat that exact blockage point, right? We're trying to teach these tools like we're teaching Excel. Like you can take a class and learn it and then use it. But it's like we're teaching a customized Excel version that's completely different for each and every person who's in the class. And that doesn't lend itself well to our model of adult learning. And it certainly doesn't lend itself well to our models for kids learning because, yeah, we may have to, like, I have a lot of university clients. We may have to rethink the idea of having a 5-page paper due every 3 weeks. That's probably no longer the right way to gauge if someone's engaging with the
Right.
content.
Yeah.
That's not going to work anymore. I'm sorry.
Right.
But have you tried to think differently about it? Right?
Yeah. Show me, like for me, I'm like, turn in your prompt thread. I want to see the whole thread.
Yeah.
Show me how you used it. But yeah, I think, and if you go to its core, we aren't very good at having that open discussion because who's going to lead it? The person who leads it is going to have one of two, if not both of these
Yeah.
characteristics. Number one, they're going to have to be an expert at using it, meaning they will have to have done a ton of reps and
Right.
not just like on one thing, not like, oh, I'm an IT guy, I'm great at using it for programming. They're going
Right.
to have this breadth of knowledge that's like,
Yeah.
I've used it for literally everything.
Mhm.
I've thrown everything at it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, you just knocked out pretty much anybody in a leadership capacity at
Right.
every organization on
Yeah.
earth. They are not qualified.
Yeah.
Or option two, which would be you'd have to be wildly authentic and like deeply open, say, I don't know. This
Right.
is what I
Right.
tried and it failed. And so I tried
Right.
this. You would have to have a level of transparency that,
Yeah.
again, gets rid of most people. And you want, like, the
Yeah.
best orgs that are learning AI have both, where they're like, hey, we've got some really smart people here who are wildly open. They're just
Yeah.
going to be transparent about how they use it. And you
Yeah.
bring a sharing environment into that. And all of a sudden, then
Yeah.
everybody's going, oh, cool. Somebody just gave me permission to
Yeah.
be a little bit crazy with this. My opening
Mhm.
question in every group is like, what's the weirdest thing you've used ChatGPT for this week? And everybody will
Yeah.
freeze. I'm like, okay, let me tell you. I
Yeah.
took a picture of a fox that showed up outside my window, and I asked ChatGPT what it was, and then
Yep.
I made a meal plan for it and named it. And
I
everybody's
love
like,
that.
what the
Yeah.
freak? And I'm
So
like,
I
oh, yeah.
love I love that example because I did the same thing with a bird that was
Uh-huh.
nesting outside our
Right.
house. Like, what is this bird? And then, but it's the steps 2 and 3 that are where you flip from search into a completely different mindset, right? Like,
Yeah.
what can I
If
do
you're a
for this thing?
creative, you're like, oh my gosh, like, should we write a story about this bird and give it a name? Should we create a meal plan? Are we going to take it home with us? Like, how do birds this literally? I was out walking. I
Yeah.
have two birds outside my window right now eating
Yeah.
because I feed them so they show up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yesterday in the car with my wife, I'm like, do you think mom birds teach like baby birds about wind and weather? Who
Right.
teaches them
Yeah.
how to fly in a
Yeah.
gusty wind? Do they talk? Like,
Right.
and my wife
Yeah.
is clearly like, oh my gosh, you're so ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. I should have asked ChatGPT this question. ChatGPT
Yep.
wouldn't have laughed at me. It would have
Yep.
given me a, oh, you're ridiculous. And then I don't
Well,
know.
And this, to build off that, right? This is where, again, I'm a broken record on this, and I'm never going to stop taking this point of view. But this is why I think the muscles that improvisers build are perfectly suited for this environment. Where in improv, we're trying to take a scene and heighten it. That's what
Mhm.
makes the funny happen. If this is true, then what else is true, right? If this
Right.
pilot in this scene, cannot operate controls, what else is true to get a pilot in a 737 to be in this ridiculous scenario, right? So looking for that, okay, if this, what else? And what else? And what else? And what else? And that's not, in my view, improvisation is the best way to teach that on a human level, because it's something that really has to click deep down in your stomach.
Right.
It's not something you just learn by reading a book. You've got to practice it and feel it and work on it. And I do think the one trap a lot of people are falling into is that you can just live in this world of Claude or a ChatGPT where you create, and I love this example, right? You take a picture of the box, you create the meal plan, you create a story, but eventually you have to get up from your desk and do it with a person. And it doesn't create the environment to practice if you go and try that with a person and it doesn't quite go right and you feel
Right.
silly and stupid and you go back to your desk and go, well, we still need to practice with each other.
Oh, 100%. And I think to add one thing to your improvisation, because I love it, this like, hey, how do I like amplify this, right? How do I take this to some outrageous extreme? I think
Yeah.
the other thing is that there isn't in improvisation a right path.
Right.
So you like walk into a situation and you go, okay, this is the given situation. There are 5 paths out of here, and none of them are right or wrong. They're just 5 paths out of here. And I'm
Right.
going to amplify it, get it somewhere funny.
Mhm.
I'm going to find a next, not the end point,
Right.
just a stage. Cool. I
Yep.
want to go from here to here. And how am I going to amplify that flow? This doesn't mean that that was the only solution.
Right.
It just was one of them.
Right.
And I could wrap back around later and go in a different
Yeah.
direction.
And that's, again, really hard in a corporate environment.
Oh,
It's
it's not just hard in a
it's
corporate environment. It's hard in America where we are raised in a school system that believes there's a
right.
right answer.
Right. Right.
And creatives are told, like, I remember one of my previous podcasts, we talked about this, like second, third grade, you suddenly go from art where you turn it in and you get credit to art
Mhm.
that is measured and
Right.
graded. And
Right.
at that point, you suddenly go, wait a second, like I thought
Yeah.
this was good and I was told it was bad. And I have no way to like
Right.
reconcile that. I guess I
Yeah.
should be good at math because it's safe. If I suck, I know I
Mhm.
sucked. And if I'm great,
Yeah.
I know I'm great because it's very binary. It's
Right.
right or wrong. But
Right.
art is not the same. And whether you take art or jokes or comedy or improv or all those things
Mhm.
are like areas of massive like uncertainty.
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
right and wrong. There just is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the crowd likes it. Maybe the crowd doesn't, but 5 people liked it. And there's not
Right.
like, yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't work in corporate America or in school or in college.
Yeah. And I never really put it that together. I really like that framing because the infinite possibilities make taming it, make, for example, writing up a corporate policy on the use of it or writing up a school policy on the use of it. It's trying to encompass an infinite number of use cases. So inevitably a policy will break. Like it has to break
Yeah.
because that by definition it cannot contain all of that.
All right. So if we sum this up, like, so I think the solution for that on corporate side is your policy needs to be a framework.
Yeah.
You're like, guys, as of today, here's what we're heck no, here's what
Hmm.
we're heck yes, and here's a gray
Yeah.
area, and here's how we go about surfacing
Yeah.
things to make decisions about whether it's right or wrong, whether
Yep.
it's a yes or a no. But if we kind of wind this up with, I got 3 questions for you. If you're, I'll give you, and then you can answer each one.
Yeah.
If you're a leader, what do you do about this? If
Mhm.
you're a manager, because I kind of view those as two different people, right? Leader sets the vision, manager
Mhm.
like has a team. And then if you're an employee, so like, what do you do? Based off where we're sitting right here, like if it was you, what would you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm my brain's on school right?
Right.
So let's take a tool that we use with second graders. Show and tell. It's
Mhm.
a $0 commitment, and it's something that very much plays the same at the C-suite and at the intern level. And you need to create time and space for show and tell. I,
Yep.
I think it is peer-to-peer learning is always going to be the best learning, regardless of what you're training, whether it's coaching or difficult conversations. But especially with a tool that this robust and this profoundly different, challenging, and this can be a policy, challenge all of your direct managers in your weekly team meetings, in your one-on-ones to devote 7 minutes to show and tell. And as a group, surface the most exciting and interesting ones here, right? Wherever that container is.
Right.
It's your Slack, it's a internal site, it's writing it on a whiteboard somewhere. What you need to get is that crossing, because the most brilliant idea from marketing might be the thing that IT actually needs. And when we keep it in those silos, you lose it. And this can happen tomorrow, right? This doesn't have to be we signed a $10 million contract with Salesforce for agents, right?
100%.
This is just, I want to see the cool stuff you made
Yeah. And if you
and
go a
get it.
step above that, if you want to graduate from show and tell to the next level, meaning something a little more like structured, it's a science fair project. Like literally these two, I use these tools all the time. It's like show and tell. Show me what prompt you ran this week. Science
Yep.
fair project. Show me a process and how did you change it?
Mm-hmm.
Like good or bad.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think if I would add one thing to that as a leader, go first. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you're going to do
Yep.
show and tell, if you're going to do science fair projects, I can tell you the number one
Yep.
deciding factor of whether it works or not, go first, be
Mm-hmm.
quirky, show failure.
Yeah. Okay.
Like those
Yes.
three things right off the bat of like, hey guys, so for my show and tell, look at this prompt I made, and
Yep.
here's how it worked. And also I did this quirky one, super weird, and I went X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Here's where it went off the rails, and it did
Mm-hmm.
this and this and this wrong. And so I'm not saying that you should bring it back on the rails. Just say what you're going to do next. So I
Yep.
think what I'm going to try is, and
Yep.
that's probably the most powerful world in
Yep.
all of show and tell is, so what I'm going to try next is this, and
Yeah.
this, and drop the mic. And you will find that showing and telling a failure, an off the
Mm-hmm.
rails, a hey, hallucinated a little here. And so next I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to try these four things that shows
Yep.
you're going further.
Yep.
Dude, everybody will raise their hand and be like, okay, cool. I tried this.
Yes. And so something I always talked about in change is, again, we're talking about change management. We're talking about AI. It's kind of the same thing.
Right.
Have a fail of the week, make it a competition. Who can do the most ridiculous thing, right? And I think what we're trying to do is lower the perceived cost of mistakes. And that's
100%.
something that's got to hit everyone in their heads and their hearts.
Right.
And when they see their VPs going down these rabbit holes and kind of messing up and being like, this is okay, I'm going to do what I'm going to do next, they go, that's okay for me too.
Right. All right. So what's our second one? I would say confine it. So what I mean by that is like you should be running agile. And if you don't know what agile is, let's make it really simple. Whatever project you're working on has to be shipped in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is that like you don't get to do a year-long project, roll out AI. It has to
Right.
actually be live in a person's hands in 2 weeks. It will force you to do very imperfect, not fully integrated,
Yeah.
most likely a lot of Claude and ChatGPT work
Yep.
so that you
Yep.
go there first. Now, as an
Mm-hmm.
employee, Dave, if you're working from the bottom up, because what I think is going to happen is your best and brightest AI people are going to quit and go find
Mm-hmm.
jobs somewhere else or become
Yep.
consultants.
Yep.
Because if you're great at this and you're doing it in secret and you don't dare show anybody and you feel
Yeah.
like your boss doesn't get it anyway,
Right.
at some point you're going to leave, right? So as an employee, what do you do?
It's a great question because I think it's going to depend on some really important variables. It's going to depend on your direct manager. It's going to depend on your organization's approach to new software and and generally what's happening. And I think it's going to depend on your own level of risk or your own risk tolerance. And sometimes that's something that's deep down in our bones. So I can't give like I don't have a hey, do this right now
Right.
type of instruction to you. But I would say that the more you can start to build out your own personal suite of tools for the things that you do really well,
Right.
And the things that you, like you said earlier, the things that you know you have to do but dread doing, I really think it's important to start building your own custom machines. I like to call them machines, right? Build
Yeah.
your own tools, build your own projects, build your own versions of things, and keep exploring those for the things. And I think on both sides, the things you absolutely love because you'll learn new stuff, and the things you absolutely dread because those are the ones that are most charged and you'll probably get most excited about. Stuff in the
Right.
middle is like, it'll probably fall in one of those camps sooner
Right.
rather than later. So again, that's not like a specific like do this now, but
But it is,
yeah,
because what you just said, like you need to build your own stuff. That means don't go looking for a tool. Like open up ChatGPT and see if you can take and build something that performs a task, and then build it in a way that it will repeat, meaning that
yeah,
like it's faster the second, third, and fifth and 10th time. And if you really want to get good at it, build something and then try to teach somebody else to use it,
mm-hmm,
because that
mm-hmm,
changes your dynamic with it. I would just add in here, going back to what Dave talked about show and tell and about science fair projects and all this stuff. We in have been trained from school up through corporate America that we belong on this team called our company. And while
mm-hmm,
that is true, that is not the only team that you can be on. And more
mm-hmm,
importantly, if you really want to look at how people are safe in a chaotic environment, in an ever changing environment, you look at their network,
yeah,
right? So, like, for
yeah,
instance, for me, I'm working from home today, but normally I work in a co working space. And there, the co working space, there's like 300 employees from 250 companies, meaning
yeah,
I'm around my coworkers that are not my
right,
coworkers. And
right,
so if you want to, if your boss isn't creating this like great co-working space where, or this great, collaborative environment, you literally go to Starbucks, go
yeah,
anywhere, hit up one of your friends, hit up your group of friends, be like, hey, I want to hang out at my house. We're going to throw up a screen. And we're going to do show and tell on ChatGPT.
mm-hmm,
Literally, you just have to get it started
mm-hmm,
and then go first. You will be
yep,
surprised. Start with something like, what's the weirdest thing you've used it for? What's the
I love that.
quirkiest thing you've used it for? You will find that even if your company is very supportive and is creating a collaborative environment, you will still learn a ton. And it won't matter how old or young they are. It won't matter what they do for work. Like literally a very great connective thing is like, go grab
Yeah,
5 people and say, hey, show me what's the weirdest thing you've used ChatGPT for at work, and I'll show you mine. You show me
yeah,
yours. We'll kind of mess
yeah,
around with this a little bit. And I guarantee within like literally by the third share, you will go, oh crap, that person is thinking about it different than me.
yeah,
And that
yep,
could be at a coffee shop. It could be on Zoom. It could be wherever.
mm-hmm,
I go to, I think probably like 3 masterminds a week that are literally just Zoom meetups. Like, hey
yep,
guys, what are you guys doing this week? And it's literally exactly
yep,
what you described. Show and
yep,
tell. One of them is like programmers. So these are very high level technical people. And one are just like entrepreneurs, not techie.
yeah,
But like that right there, just create your own group.
yep,
Like nobody says that you have to belong to a group that somebody else created. Go to church and go to like your club, go to book
yeah,
club and be like, hey guys, like, have you ever thought of just downloading this book? And look, I made the author talk to me. I just
mm-hmm,
chatted with the author. She
yeah.
says you're wrong. Like,
So so 100% co-sign this suggestion, right? Like if there's any, and it's just to suggest good career advice, period, or good human being advice is build your network, period, right? It's personally satisfying, it's emotionally satisfying, it's a great way to keep learning. It creates that safety net if and when your organization decides to make the wrong choice and you've got to
right.
go. These are all things that, again, you get to keep it. So much of what you make at work is not yours. That was on the contract day one when you signed it. It's not yours, it's theirs. But your connections are yours. And it's also, to underline this point, these are people you practice the things you can't practice on ChatGPT, right? This is it. There's still the element of you need to be talking to people to learn
Right.
anything. You can't just learn something straight from a computer. We just don't work that way as humans. So it
Yeah.
builds the other muscles that we need to learn: the listening, the hearing, the trying, not just typing and looking.
Well, I also think it'll build some other muscles like presenting. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, show and tell means you're open to like, hey, why'd you do it that way? And
Right.
if you need like again, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I just upload this entire transcript. You're watching this on YouTube. Go down to the description, hit show transcript, copy and paste the whole freaking transcript,
Mhm.
throw it into ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to outline what a show and tell party would look like. Give
Mhm.
me the
Mhm.
questions that everybody should ask and hand it up there and be like, hey, we have a list of, what did you do? What were you trying to do?
Yep.
What was the prompt? How did it answer? What did you do next? Like, okay, why did you do it that way? Did you
Yeah.
think about doing it this other way? Invite ChatGPT or Grok, hit like record, put it in there, let it officiate. Like, there's
Yep.
so much stuff you can do with this. But I
Mhm.
think what's going to be interesting is how many people have their own ChatGPT account tied to their own Gmail account,
Mm.
if they're upgrading to pro, are now building their own tools and not recognizing that there actually is value in building your own tool set, and you take it
Yep.
with you just like your network. And
Yes.
normally we
Yep.
wouldn't do that. Like,
Mhm.
we wouldn't take our templates on our spreadsheets with us. But because corporate America didn't pay for our ChatGPT accounts,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
ours.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, there's this, it's just it's a different way. It's a different way of thinking about personal and professional career growth. And it's scary, right? Because it used to be you spend X number of years and you get XYZ. And that's no longer the case. And that change is terrifying. You know, big small
100%.
scale
But
for a lot of
yeah,
people. And it's okay. I think it's okay to feel. I think this is my last like why improv is great is
right.
it's okay to feel those feelings, right? Like you can feel two contradictory things at the same time. You can be sad of
Right.
letting go of the old. You liked your job and also excited and also a little worried and also curious. Like all that mixed together is kind of this big soup we're making right now.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, for my team, I used to always tell them, like, you can complain and be afraid and you can point fingers about like the economy or whatever. You just have to always end it with this, like, and so I.
Right.
And so I did X, Y, and Z, because it immediately claims your power back. Like, if you're saying ChatGPT is scary and it's changing so fast and my boss isn't supporting it, and they're telling us we can't use it, and you fill in the blank, right? And
Mhm.
you just finish that with and so I. And
Right.
so I created a group on the side of my co-working space. And so I go to
Mhm.
Starbucks and I chat with somebody. And so I use
Yes.
it at home with my kids because I'm told I can't use it at work. And so I'm worried it's going to take my job. And so I. But that and so I
Yeah.
immediately brings it back to like personal responsibility of, I'm going to
Hmm.
step into this.
Yeah.
Figure out what's surprising is all these people that today you might view as like titans of business and heroes. And like, I'm just reading Bill Gates' book. So I think
Hmm.
I'm like, he's literally like a junior in high school, has like eighth graders working for him, building payroll software for some like software
Yeah.
company. And it's like crazy audacious, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that, nobody asked him to do that. He was just super
Right.
curious. He dug into it, he leaned into it. And yeah, he was still going to school though. This
Hmm.
was extracurricular. And I think that if you want to know the people who will get through the AI, whatever you want to call it, mosh pit,
Yeah.
uh, you
That's a good
know,
way. Yeah.
in the best way, are the same people who got through the internet shift
Hmm.
and in the same way. And it was those people who were doing extracurricular activities with the
Mm.
technology. We're like, yeah, I'm an accountant. Like, I was an accountant building websites. And then I quit being an accountant and went into just web marketing and then built a software company.
Yeah.
But it was those
Yeah.
people doing the extracurricular activities with the new technology, both for serious things and for not
Yeah.
serious things, that ended up coming out the other side with these superpowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't the others.
I love that because when I hear you talk about treat it as an extracurricular as well, it's because we're a different version of ourselves when we're in extracurricular mindset,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is fun. This is interesting. I can go down a rabbit hole. I can be curious. I can be messy because we're still the same person, but we've taken a new lens on it.
100%.
And I'll call that the learning lens, right?
Yeah.
I'll call that our
100%.
learning mindset where we can be a little messy and we learn so much better than, oh gosh, I got to figure out this pivot table because my boss needs this spreadsheet by the end of the day. Like that's not how we're going to learn how to use this stuff.
Right. Well, Dave, this was amazing. Great conversation. How can people reach you? I'm guessing
You can,
LinkedIn, clearly.
yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Dave K. Collins. I'm very easy to find. Find me online on my website, oakandreads.com. You can read all about the story behind the business. And you can email me, info@oakandreads.com. And you can find me on all the socials, but those are the main
Right.
ones. You can from
Clearly,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put a bunch of those down in the overview section of this video. But thanks so much, Dave. This was awesome.
Yeah, pleasure chatting with you. I love talking about this stuff. So we'll see you next time.
Perfect.
Man, Dave just completely reframed how I think about change management and AI adoption. This conversation was all over the place in the best possible way. Here's what's sticking with me. First, that joining the show already in progress analogy, employees are getting thrown into AI changes without any of the backstory that leadership has been living with for months. No wonder there's resistance. Second, the idea that we need to treat AI like an improv partner, not a search engine, that yes and mentality changes everything. And third, this is huge. The people who are going to thrive aren't the ones waiting for corporate training. They're the ones doing extracurricular activities with the technology. Dave's show and tell framework is something you can literally implement tomorrow. 7 minutes in your team meetings. That's it. But the key, leaders have to go first, show their failures, and make it safe to be messy. If you're a manager struggling with how to guide your team through AI adoption, or you're an employee feeling like you're secretly using these tools, Dave's approach of building your own network, creating your own learning groups, and treating this like the creative, collaborative process it actually is, that's gold. You can find Dave at oakandreads.com and definitely connect with him on LinkedIn, Dave K. Collins. He's developing some really interesting AI training that combines his change management expertise with practical implementation. And hey, if today's episode sparked something for you, that "and so I" framework Dave mentioned, use it. End your complaints and fears with action. This is scary, and so I'm going to try this one thing this week. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.